Hi, everybody. This is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so. And if you get anything from my work, a connect the dot, an epiphany, a mind explosion, a new book to read, a new author to explore, please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of the description. Pyramids. It glares, so it's hard to see. Bigger pyramids. It's like 5 pounds right there. Hearts, skulls, oil paintings, drawings, commission stuff. Go check out my website, AllyKatzkreations211.com. That's another way you could support me so I can feed myself. Holidays are coming. I'm going to start putting up some holiday stuff soon. I take it off the website because it takes a lot of room, but I'm going to do that. So please stay tuned. But I do ornaments and fun stuff really cheap. Help me out so I could keep fed. My job doesn't pay that much. So yeah. Allergies at its best. I'm really sad. Personal survival. We're going to read the conclusion today. I bet you it's going to have a wealth of amazement for us to go over. I'm really excited. And don't worry, this is not the last book. I'm going to get really upset when it becomes the last book. But for now, his isn't. And I have to enlarge it because I need glasses and I might have to cancel my health insurance. Do the job. I don't like what they're doing. Conclusion. Spiritualism, with its rational regard for God as spirit, pervading all life, and prayer as the key to inner understanding, must appeal to ever-increasing numbers of earnest thinking people. We can hope that succeeding generations will not then blame God for the misdeed of men, but will find the cause in themselves and the cure too. As we have said in the preface of this volume, Personal Survival, the particular aim is to bring comfort, solace, and assurance to countless thousands through the realization and understanding of all life, and particularly of the life which goes on after death. In this concluding chapter, we will speak of spiritualism in a general way, its attributes, its value to humanity, its use for individual growth, its place in the great plan, and also its pitfalls and dangers. Spiritualism teaches anew the indestructibility of the human spirit, that in itself would be one of the greatest services in the years to come, when men realize that they cannot, in fact, destroy the human spirit. They may give up trying to kill the body through which it functions. And once that is accepted, we may have the sure foundation for a long period of peace. One could hope. If it is like a family reunion, for it is the end of grief and the end of not knowing. Spiritualism teaches anew a great international service without regard to race, creed, class distinction, or color of skin. Many have come to the seance room with the minds dark with grief, and a few words from beyond the veil have altered their whole outlook. Science changes its views on many things and has to rewrite its textbooks every few years, but the fundamentals of psychic research remain the same. It continues to progress, for the results of such investigations have confirmed and elaborate its earlier statements. The conditions for spiritualistic achievement are simple. First, a still mind. Second, a readiness to face facts. Third, reasonable judgment, through which all statements must pass before they are accepted. You require no expert knowledge, only a desire to know the truth. One case of survival may be a mystery and the starting point of 1,000 legends. But when one is followed by 1,000,000, then you have something which has to be considered as a fundamental contribution to civilization. The evidence of one case may well give rise to skepticism or doubt, but the evidence of millions of cases constitutes an avalanche which sweeps away all doubt and objections. Here we are now in society. Principles of spiritualism. There are certain general principles or truths which must be accepted and used as a working basis. First and foremost, all these is the truth that no life dies. But only the form is changed from time to time. And this changing of the form of life is what usually called death. As one writer received this truth from the spirit world, it is so that I am changed. So all we dead are changed, glorified with our own immortality, even as you too will be glorified. We have indeed gone on beyond the comprehension of your present earth conceptions. One of the first principles of spiritualism is that everyone must find out and know the truth for himself. Bing, 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 bing. The evidences of survival are available to anyone who will earnest sincerity, open-mindedness, and willingness to seek and work, is willing to lay aside his prejudices and creed, superstition, and open his mind to further enlightenment. Pause. This is where humanity is failing. Not necessarily failing in a bad way, but we're in a lack. People say and claim things, spew, but do they feel it here? Do they know it for themselves? And if they do, and they're spewing the hypocrisy of it all, being hypocritical, then no, they don't really, what they're saying is not something they align with. They're just saying it to say it because they don't understand or comprehend. When you know yourself in full totality, in a 3D basis, you're never ever going to know the totality of everything that you are, or even experience it. But just the idea and the concept alone, you push away the judgments. You see people for the soul, the energy thereof. You're not looking at color. You're not judging and labeling people as a 3D paradigm would anymore. And when I hear things all the time and I'm like, okay, let me explore them. Do I heart align? I might not. I might put it on the shelf and do further exploration for my own life. If it applies, I add it to my box. If it doesn't, I let it go. But a lot of people aren't doing that discernment. They're not going in and heart aligning and asking themselves, does this sound right to me? Whatever is being steered at me, the narrative, the program, the event, the spins on the event people are talking about, does that align with what I feel in my heart? And everybody's going to feel something different. But when you're not even exploring it and you're just taking information and going, oh, well, because that said something, that book said it. Well, who wrote the book? Who wrote the article? What are they steering you to? I'm not saying it's wrong, right, or indifferent, but are you aligning with it? Big difference. Something can sound fantastical, but is it? Because that's how half of humanity's been deceived since the dawn of time. Across the chasm. From across the chasm of so-called death comes the following reassuring message. There are millions who yearn to reveal that love is deathless, that the grave has no power to touch those whom love has united forever. It is always our task to build more bridges across the chasm of death, to open new roads, to find more instruments, to encourage them to develop their divine gifts to the highest, to teach them to be unselfish and unwearying in service, so that more and more may be brought within the orbit of that wondrous knowledge which dispels darkness and fear and brings light and confidence to those who did not possess them before. Why many of us are here now. And I could tell you that first part, when I crossed my mother over, she was so in fear of dying. She was, I'm like, Ma, you're bound to me. I'm not going anywhere. You can come visit me anytime you want once you heal. You're going to be fine. You don't even know what you are. Stop your shit and get on with it. And eventually she did pass. She didn't linger. She went straight up because I helped her understand there was way more. It's just a transition. That's all it is. It's a transmutation of energy. And it's a beautiful process if you've ever experienced someone dying and being there for it. It's beautiful. It shouldn't be something to fear. This book has helped us understand that there is nothing to fear. It's just, you're going to wake up in spirit and go, oh, this is a dream. That was a whole dream. Holy shit. Really? And here, because we're in a time continuum, we're like, I don't understand what's going on. I have returned to teach certain truths that I have learned, truths very elementary, very simple, yet fundamental. For without these truths, man does not know his place in the great cosmic scheme of life. Universal panacea. In this world, the chief difficulty arises from the contest between the haves and the have-nots, which is the root of most of our envy, hatred, and malice. But there is no need for this at all in the next stage, since anyone can secure whatever he chooses by concentrating upon it. Thus, he needs envy nobody. Money becomes entirely superfluous when there are no goods on sale, and the miser who once hugged his money bags may continue to hug them still in the beyond, and though full, they are now meaningless. The only true wealth consists in character, for even knowledge, such as we gain here, is often of little use to the next stage, and of a kindly disposition and a heart of gold are far more really riches. But there are no compulsions. If we want to advance, we may. If we want to stagnate, we are allowed to do so. Yet after a time, it has a common experience that souls find their happiness only in growth and steady progress. Working principle. Another thing to remember is that the doors of spirit world are always open between the higher minds in the spirit world and those in the earth plane. Your spirit natures are in constant communication with the spirit world, and if you wish to and will listen, you may receive guidance and counsel from those spirits who inhabit the higher worlds. The spirit world is always ready and willing to give up its secrets to you, if you are willing and ready to receive them. Knowledge is as free as the air you breathe, but as air is only breathed by the lungs, which are ready to receive it and are developed up to it, so the entrance of knowledge into a mind is determined by the capacity of that mind to receive it. Every soul gets all the knowledge to which it is attuned. There is something in spiritualism far better than anything you can receive from it, for its capacity and its outlook are infinite. But we must not overlook all the seemingly little things we have learned, the fact of communication that is of inestimable value. Mediumship. And how can we receive the truth from the higher worlds? What are the conditions which should prevail? In the great search for truth, it is generally conceded by those who earnest workers who have worked and sought long and patiently that some sort of mediumship is necessary to investigate thoroughly whether it be our own or that of someone else. The spiritual seance in which these truths are received from those higher ones should not be entered in a spirit of idle curiosity or for mere selfish comfort, but there should be the desire to obtain spiritual food and knowledge, which will fit us not only for the life to come, but for real living in this earth life. The medium should have a deep sense of high moral and spiritual values, and the seance should be open with aspiration and prayer. If one wishes to contact only the higher spirit friends, one should strive to make spiritual progress in this life. We must also realize that upon ourselves depends the success of the venture. The question is always often asked as to why mediums are used to go between in communicating with someone on the other side. The answer is obvious. Spirits dwell in another country from ours. If one while on earth wished to communicate with a person in a distant country, he would have to use a medium, although perhaps not a human one. He would use a telephone, telegraph, radio, or other mechanical means of communication. The mediums in the seance room or elsewhere are therefore merely taking the place of these mechanical instruments. And in cases of materialization, it is necessary that the spirit visitor use the ectoplasm of the medium in order to give it a form, to make itself known to the denser physical senses of those on the physical plane, as we have explained elsewhere. Pause here. We're talking, this is 1900s, 1920s tops. I don't know how this was written, if it was, written earlier than the 1920s, but still, spiritualism at this time was working in seance rooms. Now we're in 2024, and you have ghost channels all over the place, people going and showing you with devices off their phone now. Back in the day, it was a millimeter, it was the EMF detector, it was a digital recorder that people had a spirit box or the radio. There's so many methods now of people proving there's an afterlife. And even though a lot of these channels are doing disincarnate astral formed spirits, but higher density spirits do come through. The medium that I used before he passed on, a lovely soul, blew my mind, but I helped him open and expand his mediumship because my guides were helping his guides channel guides, not just spirit. I mean, guides are a part of spirit too, but not all of them were earthbound. We have come so far in the terms of what mediums are, and there's different types of mediums. There's physical mediums, there's mental mediums. I'm considered a mental medium, but I talk to my parents, not all the time, and I get more of a feeling of knowing. I get signs and symbols. I don't necessarily have like a chatter going on in my mind. I'm also more of receiving messages for people, not necessarily a communication that I can lively back and forth talk. I'm not like the Long Island medium. But that's a talent that other people hold. I am a full-blown channel, conscious channel. Most of people are, and they're not even in realization of it. I happen to be. And that's not coming from an ego space, that's just coming from my knowing. So I believe mediums to be fantastic ways of healing. When you are a medium in development, you can go to a million mediums, they're all going to give you something different. And you're going to find a modality, a technique that someone else uses that you can use to help you in your abilities. there are a lot of people, though, I'm going to put the caution out there, that are scams, that are scammers. Anybody could pull a tarot card and tell you a future. It's up to you, once again, your heart space to align with the message or not. I do oracle readings. My higher self comes through for a collective of people that are doing the work that need a little extra guidance. And that does not just apply to everybody I read for, that applies to myself as well. So we're all learning, we're all growing, we're all shifting. And the other day in my other video, I spoke about Inside the Other Side. She's a fantastic medium. I have 3 of her books. They're short, sweet, and really cute. I have literally right behind me, I have a whole bookshelf of medium books. Because I was curious, because I was told I was a medium, but no one told me there was different types until I started reading the books and doing the research and going, oh, is that why I can't? Like I can, but I can't, and it doesn't come easily. It's not a natural occurring thing for me. And even when I go and try and do the meditations and just follow directions from all the different books I've read, like none of them have caught on with me. It may never, but I try and I don't give up, but you just innately know what's for you and what's not. But the medium stuff is huge. I have healed my relationship with my father that passed away through a medium. I have helped the medium that just passed away help cross over my uncle who finally stepped forward and like, yeah, I need to go. My mother, both my mothers, and it's healing. It's nothing to be afraid of. They're not going to tell you something that's going to infringe on your free will or is going to make you feel upset. And for those who have had traumatic experiences with their parents, that wasn't the healthiest relationships. Or I didn't have a healthy relationship with my father, but he is more in my life now, guiding me in a more positive way, in a more fulfilling way for me than he was when he was alive. So just take that. If you find a medium that is trustworthy, that you feel you have a connection to, I would definitely seek them out and get a reading if you need that type of healing. But if you're also curious about maybe you're lost and what direction to go into, find somebody who could talk to guides. You have, I know for me, I have a ton of spirit guides. Like I overwhelm lots of mediums because they're like, whoa. They all want to come talk and it's ruckus room. So enough about me. But I want to encourage people, if you're skeptical or you're needing that healing on a deeper level and you can't know the whys and you're really like needing to know the whys, seek out a medium that is able to connect to both guides and your family, spirit guides. Anyway, life on the other side. In reading in this volume and elsewhere about the life on the other side, the home life, the clothes, the houses, the buildings, one is amazed and astounded with the diversity of opinion. No, not of opinion, but for it is not their opinion which those who communicate with us are giving us, but rather their own individual way of realizing it. Diversity of description is better, but that is the way it should be on any analysis of the observation, for each one gives his report of the living as he sees it. To one, the land, the houses, the clothes, the people, the very life is one way because that is the way he has it in his consciousness. To another, it is some other way according to his consciousness. Both are conscientious and correct in their report. Truly, in my Father's house are many mansions. Whatever those of the spirit world are individually conscious of, that is what exists for them. Nothing has changed from this paradigm to that example right there. It's perception. It's what you wrote in your contract. It's the experience. So we know there's a heaven. I'll just say heaven, not sixth density or the other densities. I'll just say heaven. We know there's a heaven. And each and everybody who goes through a past life or has passed on and come back will tell you a different experience, but it all commonplace says heaven. Your level of consciousness and your rising up awakening will determine what you experience in your frequency, in your vibration, in those places. So going back to hell and heaven, if you were this horrible person like Scrooge, the Grinch, and you didn't get the moral of the story, and you didn't learn your lessons of not being such a greedy, horrible, nasty person, and yeah, like healing your trauma, you're going to learn that through putting yourself in a purgatory because you judge yourself. No one's there to judge you. Everybody thinks, well, the pearly gates open and a saint or somebody's there to judge you. God's like, you're going to hell. No, that's not how it works. That's not, it might work for some, and that's the paradigm that they need to have that permission slip to see the potentialities that exist outside of their very narrow, stuck thinking. Very stuck thinking. And if that's the paradigm that they need to play out, great. But for most of us, you're going to experience something different from someone else, but that the place is the same. Right? Like for what's a good example? I lived in New York City and I loved it. I loved all the aspects of it. Someone else lived in New York and they hated it and they think it was hell and headlong, chaos, mayhem. That's a perception. People fear Gary, Indiana. I go up there. I'm like, oh, this is like the South Bronx. What? I don't know what everybody's so scared about. Okay, so people, I have a gun. Everybody has guns. I don't get the concept. What's going on? What's the fear? When you come at people with fear, they're going to feed you it back and take advantage. When you come out of love, most people will leave you alone. What frequency are you emoting? What energy field are you exhibiting? Pitfalls. We cannot too strongly emphasize the fact that everyone who goes through the gateway of death is not immediately transformed into an angel of beauty and goodness. Even those find their level who have been careless and indifferent about the life on the other planes, and who have committed only the lighter sins of self-centeredness, narrow-mindedness, or indifference to their fellow man. They are earthly spirits who find it very easy to enter the earth conditions and communicate through the mediums, and these spirits are sometimes not only frivolous and playful, but are often malicious and revengeful, and do a great deal of harm if allowed to occupy the mind and attention of the sitters or medium. Surely, as we are told by St. John, we should try the spirits whether they are of God, and the mediums and sitters should seek protection from such as these by asking aid from their guardian angels, by using a protection prayer, or by some other method. Yes. And I say that as someone who comes in neutrality, I see beyond good and evil, but I know that it exists. That's stupid. And I have pictured things that were really negative. Not afraid of them. I don't feed it any of my energy, but I'm aware of them. And I am always protecting my energy field. It's like a habit. I'm not opening that box up. It's something you need to do. And I don't like that they are of all is of God. The negative entities that we claim is from Satan, Satan's still of God. It's a construct. It's of God. Yes. So demons are of God. The problem is they disassociate and throw layers of layers of layers and layers and layers and layers. So their light cannot shine. That does not necessarily mean they're not of God. They're all of God. They might not acknowledge it and they might have denounced it, but that doesn't mean that it's not of God. The law of rhythm and the karmic law are the only controlling factors in determining the length of our stay in any one realm of the afterworld. And as these two laws are founded on our own character and state of being, which we give ourselves by our thoughts, words, and actions on the earth plane, the duration of our stay is still subject to our free will. Phenomenal spiritualism is not for all. Many minds are not able to reconcile the phenomena with the greatness of the truth of spiritualism, such as these must be content with the knowledge gained from the study of the principles from the experiences of others. To them we will be given the full and glorious realization that all they have actually learned on this earth plane is true only when they pass over to the spirit world. In earth life, I did my best to help and enlighten. Since my arrival in this land, I have tried to carry on and to great increase the amount and sphere of this same work. I must impress upon you all the interest and the disinterest, the believer in this great subject called spiritualism and the skeptic, to remember that you are still on earth and you still have to perform the duties of earth. You have the daily lives to lead, and you must always do well the work in hand. It is well to keep in mind that spirit visitors, seance rooms, trance addresses are of no value, useless. They are a doorway through which we can enter a nobler age. Either that new world we hear so much about is the aim and end of spiritualism, or it is no better than the old creeds it is destined to replace. To believe in God as the infinite spirit presence of the universe, to hold conscious communion with the spirits and angels, and to live a true, noble, spiritual, Christ-like life, this constitute a spiritualist. And that is the end. Wow. Wow. I'm so sad this book ended. I think the bigger question we should all pose to ourselves after exploring the Curtis's work as a totality is not being bound to a fixed point of knowledge or wisdom. You have to walk and experience to gain wisdom. And as much as we read their books, for some people, if you tangibly can show evidence and stuff, they still have to have that experience for themselves. Like I could tell people I have rheumatoid arthritis. Do they really know, unless they walk and have it, do they know how painful it is and how much I silently suffer through it? And I'm not claiming disease anymore. I'm just giving an example. For most generalized populace, have to have that experience to have it, that catalyst change their perception. And that's what a lot of this awakening is we're given the opportunity of what we prefer over what we don't prefer. And that's through experience. So a lot of us are in that, I don't prefer this experience right now. I don't prefer to experience lack. I don't want to experience, I don't prefer to have inflation where none of us can pay for our bills or food and we are working as slaves. I don't prefer that. So what do I do? What do I prefer? I prefer humanity be in prosperity and no lack. I prefer a healthier environment for all to enjoy from. I prefer the light, right? But we're given the opportunity to know what we really truly want. And we are tested to that capacity each and every day. Is this really what you want? Nothing is going to be ideal. Not many people can actually achieve that state constantly, right? Is my situation. I love working with kids. I love having fun with kids, but in reality and being realistic, do I enjoy the people I work with? They're nice people. Do they know what they're doing? Somewhat. Are they gossiping and complaining all day long and I can't handle it? Yes. Love them. The maturity level, though, is, and for a teacher for her first year isn't doing terrible, but it's overwhelming to be thrown into that kind of fire without the proper training or experience. She's doing whatever she can, it's fine. But it creates a lot more work for me. So be it as we say, we have to walk some of these things. And we're going to come across a lot of people who are just in the awareness, waking up, the veil is dropping for them. They can't make sense of what's going on. They don't know what to believe anymore. And it's not our job to make somebody believe in what we're saying. It's to expand their thinking for them to further explore for themselves. It's for people to own that they have to do their own work. I cannot do it for you. I can give you prompts. I can help you think about it differently, a different perception. And I'm not always right. I'm not always on target for certain things. I would be delusional if I was. But in any case, for all of us moving forward as a humanity society, when we're talking about spiritual stuff, if you haven't walked it, embraced it, and is emoting it, and you're just spewing it just to spew something from a book, I'm giving you guys examples as I'm saying, like I passed my mother on. I feel her energy. I have the abilities. I understand a different complexity to what it is to have abilities, and I don't feel like I'm all there in high esteem. I don't really like to compare myself to anybody because all people have abilities and all abilities come in different forms, shapes, and sizes. And when we normalize it to being standardized in a certain way, we then shut down to, oh, it can only be done this way, and that's the only way it could be done. Channeling and doing certain modalities might work for some people, but for others, it doesn't. And are these people really in awareness? Who are they channeling? What is coming through? Daryl can channel Bashar a million times, but there might be one or two times that some other thing feels like Bashar, sounds like Bashar, but is not Bashar. There's a lot of deception. And that's not to say that Daryl isn't tapped into the divine. I'm aware he is, but it's a test. You wouldn't know that unless you go within yourself. I might throw tests at people all the time. I throw a lot of tests. I make people question their paradigms, not to upset them, not to make them think a certain way of me, but to really challenge them. Like, here's my life circumstances. Now make sense out of why that happened to me with your way of thinking. It doesn't apply. Now, maybe you can restructure your paradigm to be more open and more open-hearted and stop being so stiff and narrow in your thinking. It's all about expanding your thinking. It's not taking concepts off the table. A lot of people give me book ideas to read. Like, you need to read this book. Sure. I read a book. I might not like a waspy. I don't align with that thing. Don't like it. But I still read it and I respect it. It's a piece of literature. The Rancher book. I align with some stuff and a lot of stuff I don't, but it's still a piece of literature, something just to take in and go, that's a perception I might be able to even like expand upon. You never know the things that you say in your everyday life that might spark something in someone else. I had that today. I was sitting and eating lunch. I had to disinfect my room. Went to the lunchroom, and another had like a different program pre-K teacher that works in my school was sitting there doing her work, and we got to laughing. And at the end before she left, I said, you have to manifest your highest and greatest. And she was like, girl, you're talking my language. And I said, well, you have to put action into motion to have a cause and effect into your reality for things to even come into fruition. And she dropped her jaw. She's like, you're speaking my language. I'm like, oh, wait until you know why I'm different, don't you? Oh, I have to talk to you more. Looking at her, you would never know. And that's the beautiful thing about judging. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover. You shouldn't. I thankfully can walk into my building and actually pick up on that energy of people who are shut down and who are people who have an awareness and who are a little open, but are so afraid to talk about it. You talking about it and just mentioning something could give this spark of inspiration for that person to open up a little bit more to you so that they can start walking in their authentic self. If you don't be your authentic self and say what comes to your heart and your mind in the moment that it needs to happen in divine orchestration, you don't know how many people are in awareness of things. Their perception of it may be a lot different from yours, but it's still amazing to see the people who won't. They're shy, or they just feel like society, they're still in the I'm going to get labeled and I'm going to get judged. Where I walk around, I don't care. Great, you want to judge me? You're not for me. You're not one of my people. I love you. I love you, respect you, but go over there. Walk in your authenticity. Speak your mind respectfully, consciously, and you'll be very heavily surprised when you go out into normie land how many people have some sort of awareness, whether it be in astrology, mediumship, spiritualism. Like I walked down the hall today and I forgot that my VP is very much not into anything. Doesn't celebrate anything. So I felt really bad. I like caught myself going, oh yeah, it is new moon tonight with the solar eclipse in Libra. That's why all the kids' energies are crazy. And I lost her. Oh, she doesn't yell at me. And I'm not an astrologer. I just read energy. So I know when all the kids are off, like collectively, when the kids are off, and it's not just one kid, when a whole plethora of kids are just out of balance, out of whack, I either look at the Schumann resonance or look at the astrology, and it screams it all. We're the ones that have the awareness, and we have to spread that awareness to others. You never know when you go somewhere where you're tapping into, who you might influence to listen a little bit more. I've said this from so many different types of videos and books I've read. The biggest problem of today's society is the fear of death. They're latching and clinging on to that concept alone, and that people are dying, and this is dying, and everything's dying, and dying. Why, once again, why are we attributing that kind of death? It doesn't matter what manner of death, to something negative. We always steer negative first and not positive. Natural, I'm going to give an example of the catastrophe that happened in a bunch of states. Yes, people lost their lives. That's the contract they signed, and that's it, in the method and way that they asked to be taken out. I don't write the rules. I don't necessarily like the rules, but if that's the way they chose to leave, I have to respect that. Everything serves a purpose, whether you want to believe that it's all conspiracy and there's lithium things and there's this and that under the ground that they're gonna, I get it. There's manipulation, there's patents, there's this and that. Oh, I get it. Great. Wonderful. I don't want to ascribe myself to that negative paradigm anymore. I'm feeding it energy by talking about it. And I'm not saying that there isn't any foul play. There absolutely is. But where am I feeding my energy to? Mother Nature happens regardless of a machine or not. If it didn't happen, we wouldn't have rain, we wouldn't have wind, we would either be sucked out or it'd be overly cold. So what choices do you want? Please explain that one to me. Things still have to function. Where are you feeding your energy? The less and less we focus on the evil deeds that these people do, the less and less it's going to occur. The more we think about the positive ways we can change what is already here to make it better and actually put action into motion to cause a effect, things will start moving. It already is. People are already having sharecrops and having their gardens. Mine failed because of a drought. My melons did not come up. They were like blossoming and it was great. But I didn't have berries come up either this year. Sucks. But end of the day, we could take away that most people have crops and things that they can sustain off of. That's more of the mindset that we need to be going towards. Feed higher frequency into your food. Speak into existence better things for yourself. And this book will apply, give you a little buffer. If you have the fear of death, if you're afraid of detaching from everything, you're going on a solo journey. You just bring people here to have not be so lonely. You chose your life. Once you can accept that, like I accept I chose a shitty lot. I did. I don't perceive it as shitty anymore because it is what my soul needs to grow from. It sucks in the moment. It sucks when the bills come in the mail. It sucks when I am hungry. But it is necessary for me to understand a deeper learning. And I don't know where that learning is yet. but that's my journey to take for myself. Everybody's on a different journey, a different path. Things that you miss in other concurrent lifetimes that you have to learn here in the now consciousness, you're learning. And it sucks. This is a guide to help you go, oh, but that's okay because I can transmute and zip up. If you read Pistis Sophia, the last part of this whole paragraph is talking about the level in which you get off is what your level you will experience. And then you'll obtain God and move up until you get back. That doesn't change. It's the way you perceive it that does. So this was an amazing book. I'm so upset that it ended. I will pick a new one for next time. I don't know which one. There's like not many left. It's sad. Okay, just making sure there's yeah. I'm sad. But either way, thank you all for going out there and being your authentic selves. Thank you for those who are thinking positively first, then the negative. It's not to say not to think about negative things. That's not being realistic, but it's changing your mindset to think positively first, then negative, and being rational with both sides. I thank everybody for liking, sharing, subscribing, and checking my website out and just supporting me in any way that you can. Amish Mindset. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I got some messages. Yes, I do feel very invisible at times. I feel that no matter what I try to encompass and encapsulate in words in chats, they don't resonate with so many people. They're not there yet. And I'm just trying to do what I was commissioned here to do. Can't force somebody to like my stuff or to share me out, but maybe in my own timing, who knows? But I want to thank all of you for joining me tonight and sending you all love, light, compassion, grace, shielding, and protective energy. Please go within because that's the most important aspect of what we're supposed to learn here on this plane of existence. Be the physical shoulder for somebody, especially now. There's a lot of people suffering in the hurricane disaster area. And if you're around there, be the lighthouse. Do what you can. Be the lighthouse. Seed your truths. And thank you all for your support and your love and your comments. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.